The moment everything changed when life hits you without W or an ING life has a way of striking when you least expect it. One moment, everything feels normal, and the next, the ground disappears from under your feet. Let me tell you something. No one is ever ready for the moments that flip their world upside down. You think you have time, you think you have control, and then life shows you otherwise. There are days when your phone rings and a single sentence changes your whole story. There are moments when a door opens, not to opportunity, but to responsibility you never asked for. Many people have felt this: a sudden loss, a job gone overnight, a problem you never caused but must deal with. It's like standing in a quiet room and suddenly hearing a storm break loose above your head. And in that moment, you learn something important. Life doesn't wait for your permission. It moves, it hits, it pushes. But even in that shock, you still have a choice to freeze or to step forward. And the truth is, most growth begins in those moments when you're forced to move before you feel ready. The pain you never expect, but must face it. Pain is never on the schedule. It never sends a warning. It shows up like an unexpected visitor and refuses to leave. And the hardest kind of pain, the kind that comes from your own home, your own family, your own blood, the kind that hits you in the heart, not the skin. There are people who walk through life believing that pain is something they can avoid if they plan well enough. But real life doesn't work that way. Everyone faces something that cuts deeper than they thought they could handle. Maybe it's betrayal. Maybe it's being left behind. Maybe it's being blamed for something you tried your best to prevent. Think about all the people who built their lives from nothing, only to watch it fall apart in a single moment. Or the parents who raised their kids with everything they had, only to be misunderstood later. These stories happen every day, but here's what most people forget. Pain is not the end of you. It's the doorway to a different version of you. You don't get stronger by avoiding storms. You get stronger by learning how to stand inside them. And facing pain doesn't mean you don't feel it. It means you don't let it drive you backwards. When the people you love test you the most, the biggest tests in life rarely come from strangers. They come from the people you love, the people you trust, the people you would do anything for. And that's what makes these tests so sharp. They don't come from the outside. They strike from the inside. Think about it. A stranger's words don't break you the way a loved one's actions can. A stranger's rejection doesn't shake you like the distance of someone you raised. Many of the toughest battles we fight are silent battles inside our own homes, inside our own hearts. Let me ask you something. What do you do when someone you poured your soul into makes you feel like the enemy? What do you do when the same hands you held now point blame at you? These are questions people face every day but rarely talk about. A father whose son stopped speaking to him. A mother judged by the child she protected. A friend pushed away by someone they stood by for years. But here's the truth. Love will test you. Not to break you, but to show you what kind of strength you carry. You don't learn patience from easy people. You don't learn understanding from those who always agree with you. You learn it from the hard moments, the painful ones, the ones that force you to breathe deep and stand firm, the choice that shapes your future. Break or RASE, every person reaches a point where life puts two roads in front of them. One leads to breaking, the other leads to rising. You don't choose what hits you, but you always choose how you respond, and that choice, that's what defines your future. Many people let pain crush them. They shut down, pull back, give up. But some people make a different choice. They rise not because the situation is easy, but because giving up would destroy them even more. Think about all the people who rebuilt their lives after losing everything. The single parents who held their homes together with nothing but willpower. The grandparents who stepped up when no one else would. These people didn't rise because they felt strong. They rose because they refused to break. It's like standing at a crossroads with a weight on your back. One side says, let it crush you. The other side says, carry it until it makes you stronger. And every person who ever built a meaningful life chose that second road, even when it hurt, even when it felt unfair, even when they were tired. And remember this, rising doesn't always look powerful. Sometimes rising means getting up when you'd rather stay down. Sometimes it means speaking truth when it shakes your voice. Sometimes it means choosing peace over revenge. But every time you rise, even by an inch, you take back a piece of your strength. You take back a piece of your story. And that is how you shape a future worth walking into. The weight that landed on my shoulders and responsibility falls on you in an honesty. There are moments in life when you don't get time to think, time to prepare, or time to adjust. Responsibility lands on you like a sudden storm, and before you can even catch your breath, you're already in the middle of it. Let me tell you something. Some of the biggest roles you ever step into are the ones you never planned for. You don't get to pick the timing, the circumstances, or the weight placed on your shoulders. Many people know this feeling. A sibling who becomes the caretaker overnight. A young adult who has to support their parents after a job loss. A neighbor who steps up when a child needs a safe place. Life doesn't always wait for you to say, I'm ready. It simply says, it's your turn. And when that moment hits, something inside you shifts. You stop thinking about why it happened and start thinking about what needs to be done next. That is where real strength begins, not in the planning, but in the stepping up, carrying a load you never asked FO. Have you ever held something so heavy that your arms shook, yet you knew dropping it wasn't an option? That's what unexpected responsibility feels like. You didn't ask for it, you didn't choose it, but life placed it in your hands and walked away, leaving you to figure it out one day at a time. There are people who spend years carrying burdens they never talked about. A mother raising her children alone. A son who sacrifices his dreams to support his family. A worker who takes double shifts just to keep the household running. These stories are everywhere, hidden behind tired eyes and silent strength. It's like holding up a collapsing house with your bare hands. You feel the weight, you feel the pressure, but you also feel something else, a quiet voice that says, don't let go. And you don't. Not because it's easy, but because someone must stand steady. Someone must hold the line, and that someone becomes you, not out of choice, but out of heart. The fear, the exhaustion, and the fight to keep going. Your responsibility isn't just heavy, it's draining. It keeps you up at night. It fills your mind with questions that have no simple answers. You wake up tired. You go to bed worried. And still, you keep moving because stopping isn't an option. Fear becomes a constant companion. Fear of failing. Fear of not being enough. Fear of letting down the people who depend on you. Many people carry this fear quietly. A father working 3 jobs. A student supporting their siblings. A guardian raising children who need more love than they can give. Some days, exhaustion hits hard. The kind of exhaustion that doesn't go away with sleep. The kind that sits in your bones. But even then, something pushes you forward. Love, duty, hope, or simply the belief that tomorrow might be better if you don't give up today. And here's the truth. Most people who keep going don't do it because they feel strong. They do it because stopping would break more than it would fix. Strength isn't loud, it's quiet, it's steady. It's choosing to stand when everything inside you wants to sit down, standing your ground. When life starts to mend, life doesn't always ask. Sometimes it demands. It walks up to you, looks you in the eyes, and says, handle this. And you either crumble or you plant your feet into the ground and say, I will. There are moments when you want to argue with life, moments when You want to ask, why me? But life isn't listening. It's moving, pushing, forcing you to grow in ways you never imagined. And in that pressure, you learn something important. Strength shows up the moment you decide not to back down. People all over the world have stepped into roles they were never trained for. A grandparent raising kids, a partner carrying the family through a rough season, a worker taking responsibility for a whole team. These people don't stand tall because life is easy. They stand tall because stepping aside would cost too much dot, and that's what real courage looks like, not loud fights. Or big speeches, but quiet endurance and the refusal to give up, learning to fight quiet battles. The battles you fight when nitrogen monoxide one is WHNG, some of the hardest battles you ever face are the ones no one knows about. The world sees your smile, but not the weight behind it. It sees your steps, but not the ground shaking under your feet. Quiet battles are the ones that happen in your mind, your heart, and your late night thoughts. Think of the people who show up to work while dealing with heartbreak. The single parent who hides their tears so their kids can sleep peacefully. The person who walks into a room with strength even though they cried in the hallway moments earlier. These battles shape you in ways loud battles never could. Quiet battles demand patience. They demand self-control. They demand the kind of courage that doesn't need an audience. And every time you face them, you grow slowly, quietly, powerfully. Real strength doesn't need witnesses. It only needs your willingness to keep fighting. The nights that test your strength the most, there's something about the night that makes everything heavier. Problems feel bigger. Fears feel louder. Doubts feel sharper. Nighttime has a way of putting your heart on the table and asking, are you still strong enough to keep going? Every person has lived through nights like this. Nights when sleep won't come. Nights when you question your choices. Nights when you wonder if you're doing enough. It's those hours when your thoughts race and your emotions try to outrun your faith. A parent sitting beside a sick child. A worker staring at bills they can't pay yet. A student who feels lost and unsure of the path ahead. These nights test your strength in ways daytime never will, but here's what matters. Even if you cry, even if you shake, even if you doubt, you make it to the next sunrise. And that alone says more about your strength than any victory ever could. You keep going. You keep giving. You keep believing there's a rhythm to survival. A pattern that strong people follow even when they feel weak. You keep going. You keep giving. You keep believing. Not because life is gentle, but because stopping would only make the pain heavier. Think about teachers who pour into their students every day, even when they feel overlooked. Nurses who comfort others while carrying their own worries. Workers who show up on time, even when their spirit is tired. These people don't run on comfort. They run on purpose. You keep going because someone needs you. You keep giving because you know what it feels like to have nothing. You keep believing because hope is sometimes the only thing that keeps your feet moving forward. And in that steady motion, you find your power. Not the dramatic kind, but the quiet, dependable kind, the kind that builds a life one small act at a time. Strength is the flame that refuses to die. Strength isn't a loud explosion. It's a flame. A small, steady flame that refuses to go out no matter how hard the wind blows. Anyone can burn bright when things are easy, but burning steady when the storm hits, that's real strength. You see this flame in everyday people. A mother raising kids alone. A young adult chasing goals despite setbacks. A person rebuilding their life after losing what they cared about most. Their flame flickers, but it never dies. It's like a candle in a dark room. The darkness is wide, powerful, endless, but the candle still stands. It still shines. It still warms the space around it. That's what you do when you refuse to quit. You shine in places where most people would go dark, and as long as that flame stays alive, there is always a chance for tomorrow to look different from today. Dubbed the kids who saved me without knowing if all the weight you carry can become your POSI sometimes. The burden you're forced to pick up becomes the very thing that gives your life meaning. At first, it feels unfair, heavy, overwhelming, but over time, something changes. The weight shapes you, it guides you. It gives you direction. Think of people who stepped into roles they never imagined, raising a child, caring for a parent, supporting a family. What started as pressure slowly became purpose. The responsibility that once scared them became the reason they woke up each day. Purpose doesn't always arrive through opportunity. Sometimes it arrives through struggle, through the duty you didn't choose but still accepted. The people you save who quietly save you, BAs. There is a strange truth about life. The people you think you are helping often end up helping you. You step in to protect them, but their presence ends up protecting your heart. You think you're giving them strength, but they end up giving you hope. Parents feel this with their kids. Teachers feel this with their students. Caretakers feel this with the people they look after. You pour your energy, your time, your heart into them. And somehow, without trying, they give you something in return: purpose, direction, healing. Sometimes the very people you save are the ones who keep you standing. The hidden hands that pull you forward. Every person has someone, often without realizing it, who keeps them going. Someone whose smile softens the weight of the day. Someone whose presence reminds them why quitting isn't an option. It may be a child, a parent, a friend, or even a memory of someone who once believed in them. These hidden hands pull you forward. When your strength is fading, a child running into your arms, a simple thank you from someone you helped, a moment of peace after a long week. These things don't solve your problems, but they give you just enough energy to take the next step. Love has the power to rebuild what life tried to destroy. Why love is one of the few forces strong enough to rebuild what life tears apart. It doesn't fix everything in a day, but slowly mends the pieces. Love brings patience where there was pressure, peace where there was fear, hope where there was anger. Many families have been rebuilt through love. Many broken hearts have found healing through connection. Many tired souls have found energy in the simple act of caring for someone else. Love doesn't erase the pain, but it gives you the strength to rise above it. And in the end, love becomes the foundation for a new life, stronger than anything that tried to break it. 13 years of building a life from the ground up. Building a life one small victory at a time. Life doesn't rebuild itself in a day. It grows piece by piece, moment by moment, choice by choice. And during those 13 years, that's exactly what happened. You didn't wake up with everything in place. You built it slowly, the way a person builds a house with their own hands. One morning, you got them ready for school on time. One afternoon, you helped with homework, even when you were tired. One evening, you listened to their stories, even when your mind was drowning in worries. These small victories didn't look big from the outside, but they were shaping a life. Let me tell you something. Real growth is quiet. It's not loud or dramatic. It shows up in the small wins people never see. And every little win you stacked became the foundation of a family that learned how to stand strong. The sacrifices that shape a family's future, those 13 years were not built on comfort. They were built on sacrifice. Waking up early, sleeping late, cutting down your own needs so the kids could have theirs. You chose responsibility even when you didn't feel ready. You taught them respect, honesty, and courage, not through big speeches, but through your actions. There were days you had no energy left, but you still showed up. There were times when the world felt heavy, but you still kept going. Sacrifice is not about giving things up. It's about giving love in a way that shapes the next generation. And every choice you made became a stepping stone for their future. People talk about shaping a family with wealth, but the truth is simple. A family is shaped by the heart that refuses to give up on them. Raising with heart when money isn't enough. Let's be honest, money helps. But money alone doesn't raise children. Heart does. Patience does. Late nights and early mornings do. Real teaching happens at the dinner table, on long walks, during tough conversations. You didn't have everything the world demands, but you gave what truly matters. You gave warmth. You gave safety. You gave lessons that money can't buy. And that's why they grew. Children don't remember the price of things. They remember the feeling of being cared for. You may not have had much, but you had a heart that was strong enough to raise them. And that heart became their shelter, their guide, their strength. Growth takes seasons, not seconds. Raising those kids was like planting trees. You don't see results overnight. You don't plant a seed today and expect shade tomorrow. You water it, protect it, watch it, and trust the process. There were seasons when everything felt slow. Seasons that tested your patience. Seasons when you wondered if you were doing enough. But growth doesn't shout, it whispers. It happens in silence, in slow steps, in steady change. Those 13 years were not wasted time. They were seasons of building, shaping, and becoming. And without realizing it, you grew too. You became stronger, wiser, and more grounded. That's what growth does. It changes you while you're changing others, the accusation that felt like a knife. When 13 years of love meets one moment of accusation, then came the moment no one expects, the moment when all your years of love collided with a single accusation. It hit hard, it didn't feel fair, and it wasn't fair. 13 years of giving everything, and suddenly all of it was questioned. That kind of moment feels like being struck in the back by someone you were trying to protect. It shakes you. It makes you wonder if the world even sees the truth anymore. But life has a way of testing you through people you never thought would hurt you. One accusation can slice through the strongest heart, but the heart that has loved for years doesn't crumble that easily. It stands even while bleeding, processing shock, betrayal, and a wound you never expected. The first thing that hits you is shock. You can't believe it's happening. You ask yourself, after everything I did, this, then the betrayal sets. And a kind of hurt that goes deeper because it came from someone you once cared for. It feels like the ground disappears beneath your feet. You carry a wound that words alone can't explain. But even in that pain, you begin to understand something powerful. Life doesn't always protect you from hurtful moments. Sometimes it throws them straight at your chest. And still you breathe. Still you stand. Still you try to make sense of it. That is strength people rarely talk about. The strength to stay calm when your world tilts, when loyalty is punished, but you stay true anyway. There are times when doing the right thing doesn't bring praise, it brings blame. Times when loyalty doesn't protect you, it exposes you. You gave years, energy, heart, and care, and still you were questioned. That kind of pain can make anyone bitter. But you didn't let it break you. You stayed true to what you know is right. That's the difference between people who live by truth and those who live by fear. Truth stands quietly, even when attacked. And you learned that your worth is not decided by someone else's anger. It's decided by your own actions, your own choices, your own heart, holding your truth when the blame isn't yours. There comes a moment when you realize you don't need to argue to prove yourself. You just need to hold your truth. You don't need to shout. You don't need to fight dirty. You don't need to break your own peace to match someone else's chaos. You faced the accusation, and instead of collapsing, you stood firm. Because deep down, you know, blame can be thrown at anyone. Truth, however, belongs only to those who lived it. And you lived it fully. You carried years of love, effort, and honesty. That is your proof. And that proof doesn't fade. Standing tall when you feel the weakest, standing strong when life tries to break you. When life tries to break you, it doesn't tap you gently, it hits hard. It pushes you to the edge, and it waits to see what you'll do next. But here's the thing, strength doesn't show when everything is calm. It shows when everything is falling apart. You stood strong in a moment when most would have collapsed. You held yourself together while carrying a storm inside. That is true power. Not the kind people see in success, but the kind built in silence, in pain, in private battles, calm in the fire. Choosing truth over rage in moments of attack, anger feels like the easiest choice. But anger burns you before it burns anyone else. Instead, you chose calm, you chose truth, you chose control. That is not weakness, that is maturity. Anyone can shout, anyone can react. But it takes a steady heart to stay centered in the fire. You understood something important. When you stay calm, lies lose strength. When you hold your truth, chaos loses direction. Calm, it's not passive, it's power held with a steady hand. You don't break, you don't bend, you don't bow there. Are moments that define a person. Not moments of joy, but moments of pressure. And in that pressure, you made a choice. You didn't break. You didn't bend. You didn't bow. You stood like a wall built from every struggle you survived, and that stance became your shield. People may never understand your strength, but they will feel it. They will see that you are not someone who falls apart easily. You are someone who holds the line. Real strength shows up under pressure. Strength doesn't need a spotlight. It appears in the toughest hours, when your heart was shaking, when fear was whispering, when doubt was pulling at you. That's when your strength stepped forward. You didn't crumble. You didn't hide. You didn't fight dirty. You showed what real strength looks like, steady, quiet, controlled. That kind of strength is rare, and it carries you through storms without losing yourself when the world misunderstands. You when judgment comes from people who don't know your story, it's easy for people to judge. It's easy for them to assume. They look at one moment and think they understand your entire life, but they don't know the nights you cried. They don't know the years you gave. They don't know the battles you fought alone. Judgment from people who don't know your story feels heavy, but it doesn't define you. You can't let shallow views shake a deep heart. Living your truth, while others write their own version, people will create their own story about you, good or bad. That's their choice. But living your truth is yours. You walk your path. You know what you did, what you gave, what you carried. You don't need to rewrite their version. You just need to stay rooted in your own. Keep living clean. Keep living honest. Truth doesn't need to shout to be real. A lion doesn't explain itself to the jungle. A lion doesn't stand there arguing. It just lives with confidence in what it is, and you learn the same. You don't need to explain yourself to people who already decided what they want to believe. You don't need approval to know your own worth. You know your truth. You know your heart. You are not here to convince the world. You're here to live with strength, doubt the questions that make you. Look deeper within moments like these, force you to look within. Who are you when the world misunderstands you? Who are you when your heart is doubted? These questions don't weaken you, they sharpen you. They help you understand what really matters. They help you build a stronger sense of self. And once you know who you are on the inside, the noise outside loses its power. Truth always wins. But only if you don't quit. Consistency speaks louder than any accusation. Accusations come quickly, but your actions speak louder. Your years of effort, love, and care stand as proof of who you are. A lie can travel fast, but truth stands longer. And every day you keep doing the right thing, your truth grows stronger. Don't chase people, chase truth. Trying to convince people drains your spirit. Trying to explain yourself to those who don't want to listen only wastes your time. Don't chase people. Don't chase approval. Chase truth. Chase the path that keeps your heart clean. That's where real strength lives. Patience, discipline, and the power of staying the course. Patience isn't easy. Staying steady isn't easy. But these are the things that build real character. You held your path even when it hurt. You kept doing the right thing even when you felt alone. That's power. Not loud power, deep power. Hope rises when you refuse. To quit, hope doesn't appear out of nowhere. It rises when you keep going. It rises when you keep believing. It rises when you refuse to break under the weight of unfair moments. And because you didn't quit, hope kept growing inside you, guiding you through the darkness. The final message: storms don't break you, they reveal you. When storms come to shape you, not break you, storms feel harsh, but they shape you. They show you what you can survive. They show you the strength you didn't know you had. Life never sends storms to destroy you, it sends them to reveal you. The lessons that carry you forward. Every tear, every sacrifice, every long night taught you something. These lessons don't fade. They stay with you. They guide you. They prepare you for the next chapter. Your pain has a purpose. Let it strengthen you. Pain is not wasted. It is a teacher. It shapes your heart. It sharpens your mind. It builds a version of you that isn't easy to break. Your pain has a purpose. Let it make you stronger. Stand tall. Stand true. Stand unshakable. When the world pushes you, stand tall. When lies come your way, stand true. When life hits hard, stand unshakable. You've survived storms that would break others. And now you rise not by chance, but by choice.